I think these are the 7 most important waiver wire pickups heading into the fantasy football playoffs, heading into week 15. Congratulations if you made the playoffs. I'm on the sideline, so I will live through you guys. Let's talk about them. All right, we start this list with Luther Burden, somebody who's really heating up in terms of the hype, but he hasn't really done anything this season. Finally, Rome Odunze gets injured. He's out. He's week to week. Luther Burden gets thrust into essentially a full-time role. Only 71% of snaps, not ideal. And he still only gets 6 targets. So it's not great, but 4 for 67. 16 yards per reception is really good because Luther Burden in past weeks was really just like a close to the line of scrimmage type of guy. And when we look at this chart, why is Zacchaeus still getting routes run, man? Why is he still like the most used player on this team? I don't get it. He did have a really nice touchdown. I will give him credit for that. But we see that Luther Burden, 3rd in the team, he goes 25 routes. He gets 24% targets per route. So that's like number 1 on the team. Or actually, it's number 2 right behind Colson Loveland. 64% routes per team dropback is pretty good, but he's still not like a full-time bona fide player, right? So that's like the concerning thing. The Bears really want to run the ball. I mean, they were just running the ball consistently against the Packers, even when they were behind. So that's just the way this team's going to be, man. You just don't know who's really going to be involved. Honestly, at this point, Colson Loveland might be the most like consistent pass catching option on this team until Odunze comes back. But even then, I don't know if we really trust Odunze anymore. But Luther Burden's somebody that I really like moving forward because of the explosiveness, because of the fact that when he's running routes, he's getting targets. And Caleb Williams has looked great. This is a really tough matchup against Green Bay, but he still goes out there and gets us 9 fantasy points. I do think moving forward, if Rome Odunze remains out, if he's truly week to week, and he might not play next week as well. I mean, he has like a broken bone in his foot, right? I think Luther Burden's somebody that I'm really, really excited about. They get Cleveland up next, and Cleveland just got gashed by Shedeur Sanders. Jerry Jeudy had like 16 fantasy points, so I do think Luther Burden could help us yet again as like that really hybrid player, right? DJ Moore just can't run routes out there, man. It's really just Zacchaeus and Luther Burden. DJ Moore is really just a gadget guy at this point in his career, and he looks really pissed off. They get Green Bay again in week 16, then San Francisco. So it's not the best schedule, but we just saw that he could be effective against Green Bay. If he would have got more targets, I think he could have actually helped them win this game. I really thought they should have been feeding him more, but let's move it along. I will talk about Blake Corum. This dude has essentially just been the best handcuff all season, right? If anything were to happen to Kyren, he becomes the number 1 guy on a really good offense. But it seems he's just usable even as a 2B or 1B type of guy. Check out this tweet from Underdog, man. Blake Corum among running backs last 2 weeks, minimum 10 attempts, 209 rushing yards, 11 yards per carry, 3 rushing touchdowns. So 1st in yards per carry, tied for 1st in rushing touchdowns, and then yardage, he's 5th. It's only the last 2 weeks, it's a small sample, but he's been beasting and feasting, man. And this is a team that they're going to be scoring a lot of points, and they're essentially going drive for drive. So Kyren will get the first drive, Corum will come in, they'll spell each other on each other's drives, but nevertheless, you're getting a piece of an offense that gets to the end zone or gets to the red zone, they get to the goal line, and they punch in touchdowns. So Blake Corum, I honestly think is probably just a dude you can start in your flex moving forward. And obviously the contingent upside, if Kyren were to go down, is crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. It's like league winner crazy. They do get Detroit and Seattle up next in the playoffs. Against Detroit, a little bit sketchy. If you pick up Blake Corum, just keep in mind that Detroit is really good against the run. So that's probably not a matchup that I want to target, but I want to make sure you guys pick him up if he's available in your leagues. Jayden Reed up next, guys. Let's look at the routes. Again, on this one, we see that Christian Watson runs the most routes, which is only 19. It's actually crazy how much Christian Watson is producing on so few routes. But when we look further down the list, we see that Jayden Reed, in his first game back, runs 16 routes, man. That is what we like to see, dude. And that is from a team that was winning the game, right? Usually Jayden Reed, as a slot player, he's not out there running a lot of routes. He's not really being used too much. If we look at his week 1 performance, only 5 targets, but 3 for 45 and a touchdown. Week 2, he gets like a deep bomb, almost touchdown, but then gets injured on it, and then he's been out since then. So like when he's out there, they're feeding him. He goes 4 for 31 in this one, 7 fantasy points in his first game back. Sub 50% snaps is not ideal, but this is a guy on a really good team, and they want to use him, right? He's a very important part of this offense. He's a really good wide receiver. He gets open. He's a great like slot wide receiver for this team. It's like the last piece that this team really needed to be like a really good offense. And Matthew Golden is essentially in a coffin at this point. He only had 5 snaps, 4 routes, 15% routes per team dropback. Matthew Golden, I guess they drafted this man in the first round to be like a handcuff or like a bench wide receiver. I don't get it, but he's going to be Jayden Reed is someone he's probably not available, 48% rostered. So if he might be out there on your waiver wires, I think he's somebody that I'd like to pick up and see what happens. I do think there's a lot of mouths to feed. I wouldn't be too confident starting, but if you're absolutely down bad, if he snuck into the playoffs, he's somebody that could explode for like a random game, especially against Denver, who's really good at defending outside wide receivers. Maybe he can be the guy that helps them, right? Maybe he can be the guy out of the slot who's pretty effective. Now we got to talk about Jaylen Wright, dude. Absolutely insane. Achane was looking like he was going to have a massive game. 13 yards per carry, 7 for 92 and a touchdown. Gets injured. Jaylen Wright steps in. It wasn't Ollie Gordon with Jaylen Wright. He goes 22 for 110 and a touchdown. That's 5 yards per carry. Busted off longest run of 12 yards. So if we go back a couple seasons, we remember that Raheem Mostert and Achane were both like top 12 running backs. Jaylen Wright was supposed to be the replacement to Raheem Mostert, who had, I think, like 17 touchdowns that season or something. So I thought he was going to be the replacement. He also had like 4.39, 40 speed. So this is like an explosive, dynamic back. And this Miami Dolphins team has, I think they've won like 6 games in a row ever since people were saying Mike McDaniel should get fired. So this team's playing inspired. They're winning games. They want to run the ball out. This isn't your grandparents' Miami Dolphins who wants to throw deep. Remember the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua days from seasons past. This is a team that wants to run the ball. They're a gritty team. Their defense has been stepping up lately. And Jaylen Wright, if Achane is injured, he's an automatic must start against Pittsburgh. He's just going to be in a full-time role. He might cede a little bit of goal line to Ollie Gordon, but I think Jaylen Wright is somebody where he's always had the talent. The coaching staff, or Mike McDaniel after the game said, like, you know, this dude, things didn't go his way to start his career, but we see that he's really turned things around. He's really taken advantage of the opportunities. So they love Jaylen Wright. If Achane is out, now I did see that Achane could have came back in as an emergency play, but they decided to hold him out. That makes me think that he probably plays in the upcoming week. But if he doesn't, Jaylen Wright is probably a must-add. And one more thing I do want to say, these were the snaps, just to put a cherry on it. Jaylen Wright, 73% of the snaps, 21 attempts. That's 75% of the attempts. He ran 50% routes. And then we see, 3 targets is actually pretty good. He doesn't catch any of them, unfortunately, but compared to Ollie Gordon, 30% snaps. So he's essentially going to be the handcuff moving forward and a must start. If Harold Fannin up next, man, I want to apologize. Somebody came in the live stream, dude, and they asked me whether they should start Harold Fannin or Brenton Strange. I said Strange, and Harold Fannin goes absolutely insane as one of the better tight end performances on the year. 11 targets, 8 for 114 and a touchdown. Going into the fourth quarter, he only had I think 8 or 9 fantasy points. He was still decent, but keep in mind, Njoku gets an early touchdown and gets injured on the play. And I think that's why Fannin had the game he had, right? And are we going to expect Shedeur Sanders to be as good as he was? The man had like 30 fantasy points. So look, in 3 games with Shedeur Sanders, this is thanks to Data Roma. He has 82.7% route share. That's 5th among 30 tight ends, 6th in targets per route, 4th in target share, 4th in first read target share, which is actually like really big. That's a very important thing when it comes to tight ends. You're searching for guys that are going to get first read targets, right? That means they're a big part of the offense. 5th in yards per route. He's just an amazing player, dude. Yards after the catch are also insane. He's always breaking tackles. He's stiff-arming people. He's little sunning people. I think he mossed someone in this game. I think a Titans cornerback got mossed by him in the end zone for the last touchdown. So Harold Fannin is somebody where the talent is out of this world. The problem with him was always, is it going to be a good enough offense? Or the 2 problems is the offense going to be good enough where he can actually produce consistently? And number 2 was David Njoku, right? And David Njoku is banged up. So I don't know what the injury is. Let's actually have a look real quick. So David Njoku has a knee injury, man. He didn't return, and that's not good news, right? And if David Njoku is out and it's just like a long-term injury, I think Harold Fannin's probably going to just be a league winner. I honestly just believe he's going to be on this offense, which is really starving for pass-catching options. And he's been really great, even with Njoku. He's been great when it comes to like target share. So Harold Fannin, if he's available, I think you probably just spend whatever you have left. If you're down bad, like if you don't have Trey McBride and David Njoku is out, I would spend everything I have on Fannin, because he's just going to fix your tight end position. Brings us to the next guy who I'd also spend a lot of money on. It's Brenton Strange, man. So he had kind of a down week, but he still gets 6 targets. So 3 for 27, 80% snaps, everything. He clears everything that we like to see. Now, I want to say this, man. He had a touchdown called back on a penalty. I was stoked, dude. I jumped out of my couch. I was like fist pumping, and then I see the fucking laundry, the dirty laundry get thrown onto the field, the yellow flag. I'm like, damn. That would have been like, I think, another 8 fantasy points, because I think it was like a 20-yard touchdown. The man had burst. I don't know if you guys saw it. Maybe let me know down in the comments, but catches it, breaks a couple tackles, gets some blocks. It was a designed like screen pass for him, hits the sideline and shows off the speed, dude. He's got some speed for sure, but it was called back. So that's the problem. But before that, 11 and 12 fantasy points. He got a touchdown in week 13. He's a big part of this offense. He's very important. He's a great pass blocker, run blocker. So Brenton Strange is a dude that I think can really fix our rosters at the tight end position. I'm essentially starting him rest of the season. But if these guys are both taken, then Colby Parkinson is the last guy. Guys, let's just look at the game log, man. Tyler Higbee went out in, I believe, week 11. But since week 10, we see Colby Parkinson touchdown 3 games in a row. So 12, 8, and 12 fantasy points. And then he kind of does nothing against Carolina. It was a game where the whole Rams offense kind of struggled. And then another 10 fantasy points last week, man. 5 targets, 3 for 32 and a touchdown. That is 4 touchdowns in 5 games. He's the tight end 5 in that stretch, man. So he's been very usable, very serviceable. I said a couple weeks ago, pick him up, just auto start him. There's a really good offense. Higbee is down. It's really just Colby Parkinson. They kind of use Davis Allen a little bit. They kind of use Ferguson a little bit, or they were using him. He didn't really do too much in this last week, but it's really Parkinson is a guy that they trust around the red zone. And keep in mind, man, the Rams, they do love throwing to their tight ends. They throw to their tight ends in the end zone a lot. He's not going to really do much when it comes to yardage. Like, this is about what we can expect, right? Like 4 or 3 catches for like 30 to 40 yards with like a pretty considerable chance at a touchdown. So I think that if you can get a guy who's going to get you like 7 fantasy points without the touchdown, when he gets that touchdown, you're feeling real nice, right? He's going to get you that 12, 13 fantasy points. And I think Colby Parkinson, at the end of the day, you want pieces of good offenses. They played Detroit, a really strong defense is stopping the run. So they're going to need some of their pass catching options here, right? Puka and Adams and Colby are going to have to step it up. Seattle, a really good secondary. Maybe the tight end position is one of their small weaknesses that they might have. And then Atlanta is just a cake matchup in general, right? So going down the stretch into the playoffs, if there aren't many options, I really do like Colby Parkinson as a dart throw with a good chance to get into the end zone. That does it for this video, guys. Thank you for being here. I truly, genuinely appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below, if you need some like FAAB recommendations or sit starts, anything. And if you have a more like complex situation, maybe like a multi-team trade, or like, you're looking at a huge waiver wire, or you need some assistance, you need some help, hop into that Discord. A lot of really cool dudes in there. We're talking ball almost every day in there. Make sure you guys join it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.